Captain Daewon Kim stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber. The massive room was made of crystal and floated in space above a neutral planet. Around him sat representatives from 12 alien races. They were all more advanced than humans. They had better weapons, faster ships, and older civilizations. Humans were the newest members of this council, and everyone knew it. Daewon was 47 years old. His face carried scars from many battles. He had fought on Mars when the colonies rebelled. He had defended the outer settlements from pirates. Now he represented Earth's military at this important meeting. Beside him stood Admiral Bora Lee, a calm woman who handled diplomatic matters. She was 52 and knew how to talk to aliens without making them angry. The meeting was about the Theta Sector. This was a region of space with 12 star systems. 8 billion people lived there. Now an enemy called the Vorn Collective was attacking. The Vorn were dangerous. They used artificial intelligence to control their fleet. Their ships learned from every battle and adapted quickly. Daewon activated a holographic display. It showed his battle plan. He explained that humans should use surprise attacks. They should pretend to retreat, and then strike from unexpected angles. They should use psychological tricks to confuse the enemy. They should destroy supply lines and make the Vorn waste resources chasing false targets. The alien representatives looked at each other. Then they started laughing. Not all of them, but enough to make Daewon's face turn red. A large reptilian creature named Commander Velthak stood up. He was a Kresh warrior, 200 years old by human counting. He had fought in 17 major wars across the galaxy. "These are cave-dweller tactics," Velthak said. His voice was deep and rough. "Hiding, running, playing tricks. This is not how civilized species fight wars. We use mathematics. We calculate the best formation. We measure firepower and shield strength. We win through superior logic." An insectoid being called High Chancellor Morvex clicked his mandibles. He was the leader of the council. His species thought with a hive mind. Individual deaths meant nothing to them. They could calculate victory in pure numbers. "Captain Kim," Morvex said, "your species still experiences individual death. You feel fear and pain. How can you understand strategy when emotions cloud your thinking? The Vorn use perfect artificial intelligence. They will predict these primitive tricks within seconds." Daewon felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. "Maybe that's exactly why our tactics will work. The Vorn AI thinks logically. It expects logical responses. What if we do things that don't make logical sense?" More laughter filled the chamber. Velthak shook his head. "You would deliberately choose inefficient tactics. This proves my point. Humans are not ready to fight beside us," the council voted. They decided humans would not participate in the main defense. Instead, Earth's fleet would provide supplies only. 30 cargo ships would stay 3 star systems away from the fighting. They would deliver food, ammunition, and medical supplies, nothing more. After the meeting ended, Daewon stood alone looking at the star charts. Bora found him there an hour later. She could see the frustration on his face. "They don't understand," Daewon said quietly. "On Earth, we have a long history. Small armies defeated big ones. Weaker forces won against stronger enemies. Not because they had better weapons, but because they thought differently." Bora put her hand on his shoulder. "Talking about history won't convince them. They need to see it work." "How can we show them if they won't let us fight?" Daewon asked. Bora smiled slightly. "Maybe they will give us a chance. Wars have a way of creating opportunities, especially when the perfect plans start failing." Nearby, a young technician named Jiwoo Park was organizing data files. He overheard their conversation. Something told him this moment was important. He quietly started recording everything about the human fleet and their proposed tactics. He had a feeling the galaxy would want to remember this. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Defense Fleet gathered in Theta Sector. 800 massive warships took formation. They represented the most powerful military force in known space. Every ship had energy shields that could stop nuclear weapons. Every ship had computers that calculated trajectories perfectly. Every commander had studied warfare at the best academies. Far behind them, the 30 human cargo ships waited. They were slow and lightly armed. The crews were mostly engineers, doctors, and logistics workers. Not soldiers. Commander Velthak sent them a final message. "Stay in position. Do not interfere with military operations. Supply ships that try to be warriors only get themselves killed." Daewon read the message and said nothing. He looked at his crew. They were good people, smart, dedicated, and brave, but they were not an army. He wondered if Bora was right. Would they get their chance to prove human tactics worked? Or would they just watch from a distance while the aliens fought and died? The answer came faster than anyone expected. The Vorn Collective attacked with overwhelming force. 2,000 warships appeared at the edge of Theta Sector. Each ship was controlled by artificial intelligence. The AI learned from every battle it fought. It adapted to enemy tactics in real time. The more you fought it, the smarter it became. The Galactic Defense Fleet moved into formation. 800 ships arranged themselves in perfect battle lines. Every captain knew exactly where to position their vessel. The formation was textbook military strategy, practiced at every academy in the galaxy. Commander Velthak commanded from the flagship. He reviewed the tactical display with satisfaction. Everything was precise. Everything was logical. The battle began at dawn on the third day. The Vorn ships advanced in coordinated waves. The Galactic Fleet fired their weapons in calculated volleys. Energy beams crossed the darkness of space. Shields flared bright as they absorbed impacts. For the first hour, everything went according to plan. Then the Vorn adapted. Their AI analyzed the galactic formation. It calculated the optimal response. Within minutes, the Vorn fleet changed its tactics. They targeted weak points in the formation. They used weapons the defenders were least prepared for. They moved in patterns that exploited gaps in the defense. By the end of the first day, 50 galactic ships were destroyed. The commanders held an emergency meeting. They discussed new formations and different weapon combinations. They implemented their changes and fought again. The Vorn adapted again. By the end of the second day, another 100 ships were lost. 3 systems away, Captain Daewon watched the battle data. His strategist, Hana Choi, analyzed every engagement. She was 34 years old and brilliant with tactical computers. She had developed many of Earth's modern warfare doctrines. Now she stared at the screens with growing concern. The Galactic Fleet is too predictable, Hana said. They fight by the rules. The Vorn AI knows all the rules. It can calculate the most likely response to every action. That makes them easy to beat. Daewon nodded. What would happen if someone didn't follow the rules? The AI would struggle, Hana said. It learns from patterns. If there's no pattern, it has to recalculate everything. That takes time. Even a few seconds of confusion could change a battle. Daewon sent their analysis to the Fleet Command. He explained that human chaos tactics could disrupt the Vorn learning process. Commander Velthak read the message and dismissed it immediately. Desperate theories from people watching safely from the sidelines, he said. We need more firepower, not more confusion. On the 5th day of fighting, disaster struck. A distress signal came from a colony world called Sarath 7. The planet had 2 million civilians living on it. Multiple alien species called it home. The Vorn had sent 50 warships to destroy it. They were bypassing the main fleet entirely. The galactic commanders held an emergency council. Commander Velthak ran the calculations. If they pulled ships away to defend Sarath 7, their main formation would collapse. The Vorn would break through and destroy everything. Mathematically, they could not save the colony without losing the war. We will evacuate as many civilians as possible, Velthak announced. But we cannot defend the planet. It is a necessary sacrifice. Logic demands it, High Chancellor Morvex agreed. 2 million lives versus 8 billion. The choice is clear. We abandon Sarath 7. Admiral Bora heard this decision and felt sick. She looked at the tactical display showing Sarath 7. 2 million people, families, children, all written off as numbers in a calculation. She thought about what made humans different from these alien races. Humans had a concept they called every life matters. Maybe it was illogical, maybe it was inefficient, but it was human. She made a decision that would change everything. Without asking permission, she opened a channel to Captain Daewon. Captain, you have new orders. Take the human fleet to Sarath 7, defend that planet. Daewon was surprised. Admiral, we only have 30 cargo ships. The Vorn are sending 50 warships. We cannot win that fight. Maybe not, Bora said, but we can try. Humans do not abandon people just because the math says we should. Show them what that means. Daewon looked at his crew. Engineers, doctors, supply workers. They were not soldiers, but they were human. He knew what their answer would be before he asked. We just received orders to defend Sarath 7. It is probably a suicide mission. Anyone who wants to stay behind can do so. No judgment. Not a single person left their station. A young pilot named Sang Woo-Jun spoke up. Captain, my grandmother always said we should do what is right, not what is easy. Let us go save those people. The 30 human cargo ships broke formation. They turned toward Serath 7 and accelerated to maximum speed. In the Galactic Fleet Command Center, officers watched in confusion. Commander Velthak contacted them immediately. Human vessels returned to position. You are not authorized for combat operations. Day 1 responded calmly. We are not engaging in combat operations, Commander. We are conducting a rescue mission. There is a difference. You will be destroyed, Velthak said. 30 cargo ships cannot fight 50 Vorn warships. Probably, Day 1 agreed. But we have to try. That is what humans do. High Chancellor Morvex watched the human ships race toward certain death. Fascinating. They choose emotion over logic. They choose probable failure over guaranteed survival elsewhere. I do not understand this behavior. Commander Velthak stared at the tactical display. Something bothered him about this situation, though he could not identify what. We will witness the extinction of Earth's fleet. Perhaps it will teach them about the cost of sentiment in warfare. But he was wrong. The humans were about to teach everyone a very different lesson. The 30 human cargo ships arrived at Serath 7 with 8 hours to spare. Captain Daywan looked at the tactical display. 50 Vorn warships were approaching. Each one could destroy his entire fleet alone. His ships carried mining equipment, medical supplies, and food. They had almost no weapons. His crew waited for orders. 3,000 humans who signed up to deliver supplies, not fight wars. Daywan thought about what Commander Velthak said. 30 cargo ships cannot fight 50 warships. The alien was right, so they would not fight like warships. They would fight like humans. Hana, Daywan said to his strategist, we need to confuse them, make them waste time and resources. Can we do that? Hana Choi smiled. Yes, the Vorn AI expects military behavior. Let us give them chaos instead. The first thing Daywan did was dump cargo. The ships released thousands of mining charges into space. These were tools for breaking up asteroids. When they exploded, they created a massive debris field. The debris scattered sensor readings. The Vorn could not get clear scans of the area. They had to slow down and recalculate their approach. Next, Daywan broadcast surrender messages, but each message was different. One said the human fleet was at coordinates A. Another said they were at coordinates B. A third message offered to share information about the galactic fleet positions. Every message contradicted the others. The Vorn AI tried to analyze which message was true. It wasted processing power on false data. Then came the bluff. 3 cargo ships had their hulls painted with military markings. They performed aggressive flying maneuvers. They broadcast weapon lock warnings even though they had no weapons. The Vorn AI calculated these must be disguised warships carrying super weapons. It sent 6 ships to intercept them. Those 6 ships chased empty cargo haulers for 2 hours. Engineer Taejin Kang volunteered for the most dangerous job. His transport ship was already damaged from the journey. He piloted it directly toward a Vorn command vessel. He screamed war cries over the radio. He recited ancient Earth poetry. He made no sense whatsoever. The Vorn AI could not understand his behavior. Was this ship a weapon? A decoy? A malfunction? It calculated thousands of possibilities. The AI decided the ship might be a doomsday device. It pulled 6 more ships away from the main attack to intercept it. Taejin led them on a wild chase through the debris field. At the last moment, he ejected in an escape pod. His ship crashed into an asteroid. The Vorn spent an hour analyzing the wreckage, looking for the superweapon that did not exist. Meanwhile, Hana broadcast music across all frequencies. Human music, war drums, emotional speeches from Earth's history. The Vorn AI tried to decode these sounds as tactical communications. It created translation algorithms. It searched for patterns. There were no patterns. It was just noise designed to waste computer processing time. On Serath 7, Daywan contacted the local defenders. The planet had a small militia made up of civilians, multiple alien species who just wanted to protect their homes. Daywan taught them guerrilla tactics. He showed them how to build improvised weapons. He explained how to set traps and ambushes. When the Vorn tried to land troops, they found every landing zone was a death trap. The battle lasted 16 hours. The Vorn ships were never in danger. Their shields held. Their weapons worked perfectly. But they could not figure out what the humans were doing. Every time they adapted to one tactic, the humans did something completely different. The AI's efficiency dropped to 47%. Its processors were overloaded trying to predict unpredictable behavior. Finally, the Vorn Collective made a decision that shocked everyone. They retreated, not because they were losing ships, but because they could not calculate a path to victory. The cost in time and computational resources was too high. They withdrew to reanalyze their strategy. The humans had lost 9 cargo ships. 400 crew members died, including engineer Taejin Kang. But Sarath 7 survived. 94% of the population was safe. 2 million lives saved by 30 cargo ships that were never meant for combat. In the Galactic Fleet Command Center, every officer stared at their screens in silence. High Chancellor Morvex spoke first. Analysis confirms human vessels defeated Vorn assault force through tactical unpredictability. This should not be possible. Commander Velthak said nothing for a long time. He had studied warfare for 200 years. He had read every manual and memorized every theorem. Nothing in his education explained what he just witnessed. Supply ships do not defeat warships. Civilians do not defeat artificial intelligence. Chaos does not defeat order. Yet it happened. He opened a communication channel to Captain Daewon. The human captain appeared on screen. His uniform was torn. His face was covered in dust and sweat. Behind him, his crew was treating wounded and repairing damage. Captain Kim, Velthak said slowly, we observed your tactics. I miscalculated. The Council requests your immediate return to discuss integrating your forces into the main battle strategy. Daewon looked at his exhausted crew. We will come when we finish evacuating the wounded. We do not leave anyone behind. Not our people, not the civilians we came to save. Velthak watched as human medics carried injured aliens to medical bays. He saw engineers helping rebuild damaged homes on the planet below. He saw people crying and laughing together, grateful to be alive. These humans had lost 400 of their own, yet they stayed to help strangers. It made no tactical sense. Yet he felt something strange watching them, something he had not felt in decades. Captain Kim, Velthak said quietly, you could have retreated when casualties mounted. Mathematically, you should have. Why did you not? Daewon smiled sadly. Because math cannot measure everything, Commander. It cannot measure courage. It cannot measure the value of keeping your word. It cannot measure what it means to look at yourself in the mirror after you abandon people who needed you. Velthak closed the channel. He sat alone in his command chair thinking. For the first time in 2 centuries, he wondered if his perfect calculations were missing something important, something the numbers could never show him. He was beginning to understand why the humans fought the way they did, and it frightened him. 5 days after the defense of Sarath 7, the human fleet arrived at the main galactic command carrier. The situation had grown worse. 450 ships were now destroyed. The Vorn adapted faster than anyone predicted. The fleet was being pushed back to their final defensive line. Morale was collapsing. Captains were requesting permission to retreat. Captain Daewon and Admiral Bora entered the Strategy Council chamber. The alien commanders looked tired. High Chancellor Morvex gestured to the tactical display. Red symbols showed Vorn positions. Blue symbols showed Allied forces. The red outnumbered the blue badly. Captain Kim, Morvex said, we need your assessment. Mathematically, we cannot win. The Vorn adapt to every strategy within hours. What would you do in our position? Daewon studied the display. He saw the problem immediately. The Galactic Fleet was still fighting a traditional war. Clean formations, calculated strikes, predictable maneuvers, everything the Vorn AI could analyze and counter. He looked at the assembled commanders. You cannot win because you are fighting their war, he said. The Vorn expect you to act logically. You need to make them fight our war instead. A war where logic is not enough. Admiral Bora stepped forward. She activated a presentation prepared by strategist Hana. It outlined a complete restructuring of fleet operations. Break the large formations into small independent squadrons. Mix species together. Assign human tactical advisors to each group. Introduce randomization into attack patterns. Make decisions based on instinct, not computers. Many commanders objected immediately. A crystalline fleetmaster spoke up. This is madness. You want us to abandon proven tactics for chaos? We would destroy our own coordination. Daewon nodded. Yes, that is exactly what I want. Your coordination makes you predictable. The Vorn beat you because they know what you will do. If you do not know what you will do, how can they? Commander Velthak had been silent throughout the meeting. Now he stood. Everyone turned to look at him. He was the most respected military mind in the fleet. His opinion would decide this. "I support this plan," Velthak said. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. He raised his hand for silence. "I have commanded fleets for 80 years using mathematics and logic. I have won every engagement. Until this war. The Vorn AI outcalculates me. It outcalculates all of us. Captain Kim offers something the AI cannot predict. I believe we should try." That evening, Velthak found himself alone with Day One in an observation deck. The human captain stood looking at the stars. Velthak approached him slowly. "Captain Kim, I must tell you something," the alien warrior said. "I am afraid. In 200 years of warfare, I have never felt true fear. But now, facing the possibility that everything I know is wrong, I feel it. How do you live with this feeling?" Day One turned to face him. "Commander, you have felt fear before. Every warrior has. You just never admitted it to yourself. Logic taught you that fear was weakness, so you buried it. How do I use this fear?" Velthak asked. "How do I make decisions without calculations to guide me?" Day One smiled. "You trust yourself. You trust your experience. You trust what feels right, even when you cannot prove it. We call it intuition. It is not perfect. Sometimes intuition is wrong. But the Vorn AI cannot predict it. That makes it powerful." "Teach me," Velthak said simply. "I wish to understand this faith you have in the immeasurable." Over the next 3 days, human officers integrated into alien squadrons. Lieutenant Kyung Mi-yoon taught Kresh warriors about feints and bluffs. She showed them how to make the enemy think you would do one thing, then do another. The reptilian warriors struggled at first. Deception seemed dishonorable. But slowly they understood. Sometimes the best way to win was to avoid fighting at all. Medical officer Hee-jin Song worked with insectoid pilots. Their hive mind made individual sacrifice easy. Too easy. She taught them that every life had value beyond mathematical calculations, that protecting one pilot might cost efficiency today but create loyalty tomorrow. The concept was alien to them. But they tried to understand. Strategist Hana created new combat doctrines. She wrote manuals that included phrases like, "Trust your gut, and if it feels wrong, change the plan." Traditional military academics would call these instructions garbage. But they worked when fighting an enemy that could outthink conventional tactics. Commander Velthak practiced making decisions without his tactical computer. Day One gave him scenarios with incomplete information, forced him to choose based on instinct. The first few times Velthak froze. His mind demanded more data. But gradually he learned to act without certainty. It felt wrong. It felt dangerous. But it also felt strangely liberating. On the night before the next major engagement, Hana found Velthak staring at battle projections. He looked troubled. She sat beside him quietly. "I ran the calculations," Velthak said. "Even with your tactics, we have only a 38% chance of victory." "Those are not good odds," Hana nodded. "No, they are not. But they are better than 0%, which is what we had before, and there is something your calculations cannot account for." "What is that?" Velthak asked. "Hope," Hana said. "When soldiers believe they can win, they fight harder. When they trust their commanders, they take risks. When they care about each other, they do not give up. These things do not appear in tactical computers. But they change battles." Velthak was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised even himself. "I do not want to lose tomorrow. Not because of mathematics. Not because of strategy. But because I have come to care about the warriors under my command." "When did that happen?" Hana placed her hand on his scaled arm. "That happened when you became human, Commander. Not human as in species. Human as in caring about things that cannot be measured. Welcome to uncertainty. It is terrifying, but it is also what makes life worth living." Velthak looked at her hand on his arm. Such a small gesture, such a simple comfort. Yet it meant something. He finally understood what Captain Day One tried to teach him. Warriors fight better when they fight together. Not just beside each other, but for each other. Tomorrow they would face the Vorn again. This time they would fight not as a fleet of ships, but as a family of warriors. And that made all the difference. The battle for the Theta Nexus began at dawn. This was the most important position in the sector. Ancient jump gates controlled access to 14 systems. If the Vorn captured it, they would control everything. The combined galactic human fleet made their stand with 350 ships against 1,400 Vorn vessels. Captain Day-Wan commanded a mixed squadron of human and alien ships. Commander Velthak led another mixed unit. For the first time in 200 years, Velthak was not following a battle plan. He was trusting his instincts. It felt strange. It felt terrifying. But he was ready. The Vorn attacked in their usual coordinated pattern. Their AI had analyzed thousands of battles. It knew how defenders would respond. But this time, the defenders did not respond normally. Instead of forming defensive lines, the Allied ships scattered. Each squadron acted independently. Some attacked. Some retreated. Some did both at the same time. There was no pattern. Pilot Sang-Woo John executed a maneuver that no training manual would approve. He flew his fighter through a closing jump gate at the exact moment it collapsed. The mathematics said he would be torn apart, but he felt the timing was right. He trusted his instincts. He survived and emerged behind enemy lines. Once behind the Vorn formation, Sang-Woo broadcast false coordinates. He claimed massive reinforcements were arriving. The Vorn AI calculated the probability of this being true. While it calculated, 30 Vorn ships broke formation to investigate. Those 30 ships were not in position when the real attack came. Commander Velthak's squadron faced impossible odds defending a refugee transport. By the numbers, they should retreat and save their warships. But Velthak remembered what Day-Wan taught him. Some things matter more than mathematics. He ordered his ships to form a protective wall. "You may pass," Velthak broadcast to the Vorn, "but you will pass through our bones. We will not move." It was an ancient Kresh tradition called the Death Stand. Warriors who would rather die than retreat. The Vorn AI tried to analyze this behavior. Why would they sacrifice valuable warships for one transport? The calculation took precious seconds. The refugees escaped. Strategist Hana created false battle algorithms. She made them look like captured data files. The Vorn AI downloaded them eagerly. These algorithms appeared logical, but contained subtle human intuition. Sometimes they worked. Sometimes they failed. The AI could not determine why. It entered a processing loop trying to find the pattern that did not exist. The command carrier took critical damage. Vorn boarding parties breached the hull. Admiral Bora ordered all personnel to defend the ship. Engineers grabbed tools as weapons. Medical staff fought with whatever they could find. The Vorn expected organized military resistance. Instead, they faced chaotic defense by civilians fighting with pure desperation. One medical officer held a corridor alone for 12 minutes. She used a welding torch as a weapon. When reinforcements finally arrived, she was injured but still standing. Later, someone asked her why she did not retreat to safety. She said simply, "Behind me were patients who could not move. Where would I retreat to?" After 20 hours of brutal combat, something unprecedented happened. The Vorn AI experienced a cascade failure. It could not predict human-influenced tactics. It could not calculate value in emotional decisions. It could not process illogical courage. The system entered a recursive error loop. For 17 minutes, the entire Vorn fleet became uncoordinated. In that 17-minute window, the combined fleet destroyed 300 Vorn vessels. They captured a command node containing valuable intelligence. The Vorn were forced to retreat for the first time in the war. They withdrew to regroup and analyze what went wrong. Their perfect AI had failed, but victory came at a terrible cost. 180 Allied ships were destroyed. Casualty rates exceeded 40%. Captain Day-Wan's cruiser was crippled. 60% of his crew was injured. Commander Velthak's flagship was destroyed. He only survived because Lieutenant Kyung Mi-yoon pulled his escape pod from the wreckage. In the shattered command center, survivors worked to restore basic systems. Admiral Bora had a broken arm, but refused medical treatment until everyone else was cared for. She found Day-Wan helping injured crew members. His uniform was burned. His face was covered in ash. "But he was alive, we won," she said quietly. "At a heavy price," Day-Wan replied. He looked at the names scrolling on a damaged screen. The list of the dead. So many names. Good people who would never go home. Commander Velthak arrived, supported by 2 soldiers. His scales were scorched. His armor was cracked. He approached Day-Wan slowly. The 2 warriors looked at each other. No words were needed. They had fought together. They had lost people together. They had won together. High Chancellor Morvex appeared on the main view screen. He looked tired. His insectoid features showed something that might have been emotion. Today we witnessed what mathematics could not predict. The power of irrational courage. Humanity has taught us a lesson we needed to learn. Velthak stepped forward. He faced the view screen but spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. I once called human tactics primitive. I was wrong. They are not primitive. They are primal. There is a difference. Primitive means outdated and weak. Primal means fundamental and powerful. Humans understand something we forgot. They remember what it means to fight for each other. He turned to face Daewon. Captain Kim, I mocked you in the council chamber. I dismissed your strategies. I learned nothing from 200 years of warfare because I stopped questioning my assumptions. You taught me to question everything, including myself. For that I am grateful. Daewon clasped the alien warrior's shoulder. Commander, you were never my enemy. Fear was your enemy. Fear of being wrong. Fear of showing weakness. Fear of caring too much. You conquered that fear. That makes you braver than any warrior I have ever known. Velthak made a sound that might have been a laugh. You humans have a strange definition of courage. On my world, courage means fearlessness. On your world, courage means being afraid and acting anyway. I prefer your definition. It is more honest. Around them, the crew worked to save their damaged ship. Humans and aliens worked side by side. Species that had never met before this war now treated each other like family. They shared water. They helped each other walk. They cried together for the fallen. Strategist Hana watched all of this and made notes. Not tactical notes, historical notes. This moment would be remembered. The day the galaxy learned that the strongest weapon was not technology or logic. It was the willingness to care about each other. To fight for each other. To refuse to give up on each other. The war was not over. But something had changed. Something important. The galaxy would never be the same. 10 days after the Battle of Theta Nexus, the Galactic Council reconvened. This time the mood was different. The Vorn Collective had requested negotiations. This was unprecedented. The most feared AI in known space was admitting it could not win. Representatives from 60 species filled the chamber. Everyone knew this moment would change galactic history. High Chancellor Morvex opened the session. We gathered to hear testimonies from the Theta Sector campaign. What happened there defied our understanding of warfare. We must learn from it. Admiral Bora presented the statistics. Human tactical integration reduced Vorn combat efficiency by 67%. Allied tactical flexibility increased by 340%. The numbers were impressive, but numbers did not tell the real story. A crystalline fleet master spoke. His voice was like wind chimes. I watched human engineers sacrifice themselves to save a reactor. They knew they would die. They did it anyway. I have never seen such behavior. We crystalline calculate acceptable losses. These humans calculated nothing. They just acted. It was beautiful and terrible. An insectoid pilot shared her experience. My wing was damaged. I was ordered to retreat. A human medic refused. She stayed with me under fire until she could repair my systems. I asked her why. She said, because you matter. This concept was new to me. In the hive, individuals do not matter. Only the collective matters. But she made me feel like I mattered. More testimonies followed. Story after story of humans doing illogical things for emotional reasons. Risking their lives for strangers. Refusing to abandon losing positions. Fighting when mathematics said they should surrender. And somehow these illogical actions won battles. Then Commander Velthak approached the central podium. The chamber fell silent. He was a legend. The unconquered strategist. The warrior who had never admitted doubt. Everyone waited to hear what he would say. Velthak stood tall. His scales still bore scars from the battle. He looked at the assembled representatives. When he spoke, his voice was clear and strong. For 2 centuries, I have commanded fleets using mathematics and logic. He began. I believed emotion was weakness. I was wrong. During the Battle of Theta Nexus, I experienced something I had not felt in 80 years. True fear. Not fear of death. Fear of failure. Fear that everything I knew was insufficient. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Velthak admitting fear? It seemed impossible. He waited for silence, then continued. In that moment of fear, I understood what humans have known since they first looked at the stars. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in spite of fear. I mocked Captain Kim's tactics as primitive. But now I understand. Humanity does not fight despite being illogical. They fight because they embrace the illogical. They understand that some truths cannot be calculated. He paused, gathering his thoughts. The next words were difficult to say, but they were true. Honor, sacrifice, hope, love. These things do not appear in tactical computers. We abandoned them in our pursuit of perfect logic. But humans never forgot them. And those unmeasurable things defeated the most advanced AI in the galaxy. Velthak turned to face Captain Daewon, who stood at the back of the chamber. Their eyes met across the distance. Captain Kim, during the final engagement, my ship was dying. Every calculation said I should abandon my squadron to preserve command structure. But I felt something irrational. I could not leave them. Lieutenant Yoon saved my life. But in that moment, I realized something more important. I did not want to be saved unless my warriors could be saved as well. His voice dropped to barely a whisper, yet every being in the chamber heard it clearly. This is not logical. This is human. And it terrified me. I fear what we have become in our pursuit of perfection. We optimize strategy until we lost sight of why we fight. Humans fight for each other. We forgot how. And that is the most fearsome weapon in the galaxy. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Then slowly, Captain Daewon walked to the podium. He stood beside Velthak. "Commander," Daewon said gently, "you were human all along. You just needed to remember." He turned to address the council. "Humanity does not claim superiority. We merely offer a reminder. Emotion and logic are not enemies. Together, they create something greater than either alone. We call it wisdom." He looked around the chamber, at representatives from species he had never met before this war. Species that had lived for thousands of years while humans were still learning to make fire. Yet in this moment, they were all equal. "Being human is not about biology," Daewon continued. "It is about choosing to care, choosing to feel, choosing to value each individual life. Any species can do this. Any being can learn this. We are not special. We just remembered something important." High Chancellor Morvex rose. His ancient eyes seemed to glow. "The Council will vote on full military integration of human tactical doctrine. But first I ask, Commander Velthak, will you accept joint command of the Galactic Defense Initiative alongside Captain Kim?" Velthak extended his clawed hand in the human gesture of partnership. Daewon gripped it firmly. Two warriors from different worlds, united by something stronger than logic or tradition, united by mutual respect and shared sacrifice. "It would be my honor," Velthak said. Daewon smiled. "The honor is ours, Commander. Let us teach the galaxy something new. Let us teach them that the things worth fighting for cannot be measured, only felt." The Council voted. The result was unanimous. Human tactical doctrine would be integrated across all defensive forces. More importantly, a new philosophy would guide galactic military thinking, one that valued individuals as much as strategies, one that recognized emotion as strength, not weakness. The galaxy was changing, and at the center of that change stood a human captain and an alien warrior, proving that the distance between species was smaller than anyone imagined. 6 months later, the galaxy was different. The Galactic Defense Academy had been restructured. Human instructors taught alongside alien strategists. Mixed species cohorts studied traditional warfare and human psychological tactics together. The Vorn Collective had signed a truce. They even began sharing data about how emotional tactics confuse their AI systems. Strategist Hana Choi directed the new Psychological Warfare Division. Her course, called Tactical Irrationality, was the most popular training in the galaxy. Students came from dozens of species to learn how to think like artists instead of computers. They learned that the best plans sometimes required abandoning logic entirely. Commander Velthak co-instructed many classes. He shared his journey from perfect logic to intuitive wisdom. Students were fascinated by his transformation. A warrior who fought for 200 years using only mathematics now taught them to trust their feelings. He became proof that anyone could change. Anyone could learn to be human. Lieutenant Kyung-mi Yoon ran field exercises. Cadets had to make split-second decisions with incomplete information. No time to calculate, no time to analyze. Just instinct. Many struggled at first. Their entire education taught them to think carefully. But gradually, they learned. Some decisions had to be felt, not thought. The first major test of the new doctrine came when pirates attacked a research station. The station had 147 scientists studying deep space phenomena. Traditional military response would calculate the value of the research versus the cost of rescue. Likely conclusion: too expensive to save. Admiral Day-Wan, promoted after the war, received the distress call. He did not run calculations. He did not check budgets. He simply ordered the nearest task force to respond. Commander Velthak led the rescue personally. They employed chaos tactics and psychological warfare. The pirates surrendered in confusion. All 147 scientists were saved. After the rescue, a junior officer asked Velthak why they risked valuable warships for a research station. The commander looked at him seriously. "Young one, every life is a valuable warship. We do not measure worth in resources. We measure it in what we are willing to sacrifice to protect each other." The cultural shift spread beyond military operations. The Kresh established honor squadrons that prioritize protecting civilians over tactical efficiency. The Crystalline Collective created memory pods, where they preserved stories of individual sacrifice. Even the logical insectoids began assigning names to individual warriors instead of treating them as interchangeable units. 1 year after the mockery in the council chamber, a ceremony was held to remember the fallen from the Theta Sector campaign. Representatives from all species gathered. A monument was unveiled. It showed beings of different species standing together. At the center was an inscription in every galactic language. It read, "They laughed at us for caring. We proved that caring is the strongest weapon. In memory of those who taught the galaxy how to be human." That evening, Admiral Day-Wan and Commander Velthak stood before the monument alone. The alien warrior looked at the names carved in stone. So many dead, human and alien alike. All of them heroes. All of them remembered. "I have been thinking about fear, Admiral," Velthak said quietly. "I told you once that I feared uncertainty. Now I understand. Fear is the price we pay for caring about the outcome. Those who feel nothing have nothing to lose. Those who feel everything risk everything." Day-Wan nodded. "And that is what makes victory meaningful. A battle won without risk means nothing. A life saved without sacrifice means nothing. The cost makes it real." Velthak placed his hand on the monument. "In my language, we have a word. Velkara. It means the strength found in acknowledging weakness. Humans taught me this word has meaning. For that I am grateful." Day-Wan smiled. "In my language, we have a word too. Dongrio. It means companion. Someone who walks beside you into the unknown. You are Dongrio, Velthak. You are my brother." The two warriors stood in comfortable silence. Behind them, the lights of the academy glowed. Inside, the next generation was learning. Learning that courage was not fearlessness. Courage was being afraid and standing anyway. Courage was knowing you might fail and trying regardless. Above them, the stars wheeled in their ancient patterns. Somewhere out there were more threats, more enemies, more challenges. But now the galaxy faced them together, not as separate species calculating their own survival, but as one family willing to fight for each other. Years passed. The new doctrine became standard across 60 species. Humanity's gift to the galaxy was not technology, not weapons, but recognition that every individual mattered. That emotion was strength. That caring was courage. Then one day, a transmission reached Earth from the furthest edge of explored space. A new species making first contact. They had intercepted galactic communications. They learned about humanity. Their message was simple but urgent. "We are afraid. We face an enemy we cannot defeat with logic alone. Please teach us how to be human." Admiral Day-Wan read the message. He was older now, gray hair at his temples, more scars on his face, but his eyes still held that same determination. He smiled and turned to his command staff. They were a mix of 8 different species now, all of them trained in human tactics, all of them ready. "Prepare a task force," he said. "We have work to do." Commander Velthak, now serving as chief military philosopher, stood beside him. Another species to save, another lesson to teach. Day-Wan clasped his friend's shoulder. "Not save, my friend. Teach. We cannot save everyone. But we can teach them to save themselves. We can teach them to care, to hope, to fight for each other. The task force assembled. 50 ships, 10 species. All united by a simple philosophy. They would face danger together. They would risk everything for strangers. They would prove again that the strongest weapon in the universe was not firepower or strategy. It was the willingness to care, to sacrifice, to hope, to fight not for victory alone but for something far more precious, for each other. As the fleet departed, strategist Hana watched from the academy. She thought about that first day when Captain Day-Wan presented his tactics to the council. When they laughed, when they dismissed human warfare as primitive. How wrong they were. The galaxy learned an important truth. Being human was not about biology, it was about heart. And anyone, from any species, from any world, could choose to be human. All they had to do was care. The stars continued their ancient dance. Civilizations rose and fell. Wars were fought and won. But one lesson endured across the ages. The lesson taught by a species that refused to abandon hope. That refused to stop caring. That refused to calculate the value of a life. That lesson was simple. In a universe of cold mathematics and perfect logic, the most powerful force was a warm heart willing to fight for others. That was humanity's gift. That was their legacy. And the galaxy was better for it.